Joe, let's talk
Yes,
about Chainsaw Man. It's been a while.
I'm excited to do so.
Me too. We've been kind of coy with our conversations about it, keeping some opinions to ourselves, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Joe about it. Um,
Yes,
Especially with the anime that's come out. I only watched the first one or two episodes. I should watch the whole thing.
same.
Um,
It's funny that we both did the same thing, but didn't speak anything about that because I was just like, I've seen this before. I've watched this.
it feels because it. Let's be honest, we're also not even close to like the good stuff in the anime,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
subconsciously that's why I haven't been as willing to jump immediately in. But now that the
I
whole
think,
season's out, maybe I should give it a whole.
yeah. I think I was waiting for the whole season to come out just because it's like it just because I read all of Chainsaw Man. I think literally in a night, so like it very much was like just binge worthy of just going through it.
Jesus, was that really the case? I remember us doing multiple conversations about Chainsaw Man, though.
We I read the entirety up to like where it was at the
Ah,
time.
yeah, no, me too. But
Yeah,
I think
in one night.
Tyler, for example, actually did the whole last thing in like one day. I don't
Yeah,
have that kind of stamina. What's funny is to do the whole thing in one day, you are almost breaking the Shonen Jump app's limit of how much you can read
I
every day
know,
because you can
which is
only do
hilarious.
100 chapters. But
Yeah,
dude, part two's out, and it took a little bit for Fujimoto to get it out. But you know what? He was cooking during because he made Goodbye Eri, which is like arguably
Ugh,
even better than Chainsaw Man. I really
I think
love
it's one of
Goodbye
the
Eri.
best comics I read this year. Goodbye, Eri.
Yeah, it's so weird and goofy, but like
Hmm.
yeah, and I feel like that Goodbye Eri energy is flowing directly into Chainsaw Man Part Two. Is like, do you
Yes,
feel that as well?
yes. I think Fujimoto has a very firm grasp on what his style is and how he writes. Like he has, I feel like he's one of the most like confident new authors out there in what he's doing. Like like there is no like I don't feel like there's any hesitation from him. Like he knows what he wants to do and what he wants to draw and what he wants to write. And we and we watched the video from Super Eye Patch Wolf, and he mentions how like he gets frustrated because he knows what he wants to draw, but he doesn't have the technical skills sometimes to do it. So I think he's
Yeah.
just a very passionate dude, and he knows the story he wants to tell. And I still think it's being felt here in part two. Um, but yeah,
As far as like I think it's really interesting because yeah, I agree. Like his art is not always the best, but as I'm
yeah.
like reading part two, I'm reminded of how much I like his paneling. Um,
Hmm.
there's multiple times in both parts where um, like either he'll do cool like world breaking stuff with the paneling, like the finger that comes off the screen sometimes, be it
Yeah.
through Aki's attack, but I think Makima does it at some point too. And one thing I really focused in on this time is his repetition because that happened a
Yeah.
ton in especially Goodbye Eri, where
Hmm.
he would do a bunch of repetition of like either the exact same poses with minuscule changes and different dialogue, or the exact same panel layout between the two pages. And one example is when Denji is talking about, dude, Chainsaw Man doesn't eat people, and okay, maybe if he did, it was only that one time, and
Yeah.
I think it's like just four panels of Denji's face barely changing, but it makes the humor so much better.
Or in the most recent like start of the arc where they're on the date and what's her name?
Asa just keeps doing her bits. She's like, "No, dude, just trust me. Just trust the plan. It's gonna be a great date."
Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, let's talk about Asa then, because like we're introduced to a new main character,
yes. I also want to just talk about how
and the
this
whole beginning section's pretty interesting. I think it was a very fun return to the world.
yeah. And it feels like I feel like also it does a good job of Fujimoto. It feels like a really good like jumping in point as well. Like it kind of just dives straight in and you're kind of introduced to this chicken devil and you're a little bit those
Bucky,
background.
bro.
Yeah. But like Asa is I'm just shocked. This is such a bold decision to do with a manga that's been very popular to just go, hey, we're not going to see the main character for like 10 chapters or something like that.
Yeah, it's cool though that the status quo is that Chainsaw Man's a proper hero. I feel like that's a very logical follow up to the, because part one's weird, man. Like the world building in Chainsaw Man's kind of like goofy and not very coherent at times. Where like even here, like people don't take devils as seriously as the horrors that we've seen. It's like, how can you have a high school devil hunting club for minor devils but like the gun devil exists and like and publicly murders hundreds of thousands of people in like a couple of seconds? So it's like it's like loose and goofy, but like it's becoming more fleshed out, I think, in part two, where I still have some quabbles with it, but I'm beginning to buy it. And I feel like the beginning here with Bucky was a really good reminder for me of what the Devils even are, because honestly I forgot about like the specifics of how they operate in between the parts. So I thought this was a really good primer and reminder.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a good jumping off point as well, like you were saying.
It's just, and like we get this thing with Asa where she's the loner, right? And
yeah, she's a femcell, like straight up.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that like you look at compared to Denji, who was 100% alone and was given like no opportunity to connect with people basically because of his father's debt and what he had to do to survive. Like Kuchita was like the only thing he had, whereas Asa is like actively trying to separate herself from her classmates because she feels like she doesn't belong, and like her in the one time she tries to like actually get along, she ends up killing Bucky.
Asa definitely, like, there's a clear storytelling here about Asa being like this clumsy fuck up who always messes up like at the worst possible time. And even in the most current arc, it's becoming it's like being reiterated on.
Yeah. What's this devil that shows up? It's been a long time since I saw
the War Devil. Well, I forgot who cares about this minor devil, but the War Devil shows up and possesses Asa.
Oh, the Justice Devil is what she ends up getting attacked by. But yeah, the War Devil comes and possesses.
War Devil has a really cool ability, I think, of like making body parts into weapons, which is, it lets Fujimoto flex that he can do a little bit more gore now that he's on Jump Plus, or I think that's the one, right? The magazine he's in now. So he can like take the disfigured body parts and make weapons out of them.
Well, it's not even just any weapons. It turns out to be like literal anything, basically. Like at one point, she takes her entire school uniform and turns it into a sword. Right.
And speaking of the Justice Devil, as I was scrolling through, like, there's the Goodbye Area explosion here. Like, it's such a direct follow-up. And I forgot God, it's been so long. I forgot that the entire motivation is that she wants nuclear weapons back in the world because the Chainsaw Devil ate them. Which is still, like, the dumbest thing, that the thing the world is most scared of is chainsaws, and that somehow lets the Chainsaw Devil eat concepts. I feel like Fujimoto just made that up without any, like, cohesiveness, but it's fine.
Yeah. He might come around like, I'll figure something out later, but
that's what I'm hoping for. I'm sure it'll make more sense as time goes on.
I like this dynamic that we get with Asa and the War Devil, where they're kind of like, it's almost like Puchita and
Denji,
where like it's not like she's gone fully fiend, but like she's possessed, but not really like fully taken over. It's a weird pact that they've accidentally made or forcibly made.
Yeah, and right? do you think they'll end up friends? Because like over time they're warmer to each other, but I mean, if I had to predict how this ends, it's with the War Devil dying fully somehow and Asa still living and she's just alone again or something. But no, maybe now she has friends thanks to Denji or something like that. That could be the trajectory we're going here. Someone's gonna die though, because it is Chainsaw Man. People don't live around these parts.
They don't. People die very quickly, as we find out.
This first arc, big theme is bullying. It was interesting to come back into a bullying story from the wackiness that is Chainsaw Man.
Yes.
And you get introduced to Asa's friend, whose name I forget.
Oh
Where
God.
is she?
Ev- she shows up in like the end of chapter 99, but
It's
like
not
I
like
thought,
it's not Fuki, is it?
uh Yuko.
Yuko, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yuko shows up as they're like, so they're trying to join the Devil Hunter Club, but the Devil Hunter Club is already established, and we
Hmm.
get to actually meet them later. They're a bunch of douchebags. But you know what? To be fair, they're in the situation they're in near the end of where we stop reading, which is what chapter 114, because we didn't mention that off the top.
Yeah.
You know what? Fair play to them. They're trying to handle the situation best as they can, and Asa
And also
is
a
not
bunch of
really
high school
happy.
kids.
Yeah,
Like,
which again, like people like if even a minor devil is this reality warping, though I think this might be the famine devil that's warping reality. But either way, these kids should
yeah.
not be getting involved.
Oh yeah, 100%. Uh, but like Yuko like came off like immediately to me. I don't know about you. Like, oh, this she's gonna die tragically, or something terrible is going to happen to this person. Uh,
I mean, I didn't get like the strongest. I got the baseline. This is always a possibility in Chainsaw Man, but I wouldn't say I got like a strong inkling
well,
for it.
well, I think back to Aki, and I think back to oh god, I forget what her name is, but she has the eye patch that she gives her whole body up to save Aki. Do you
Yeah,
remember in the first?
yeah. The
That's
early death lady
yeah, the
threw up in a miner's mouth.
yeah, statutory rape even almost.
Yeah, yeah. Our big hero.
Yeah, but like basically like Fujimoto takes a lot of people that have very good hearts and mean a lot, and he ends up like shows how like doing that can get them in harm's way, but sometimes that's the motivation he needs to get their heroes to
And
persevere.
I think both my favorite and least favorite part of this arc is Yuzu's descent to madness, where
Yeah,
not Yuzu, Yuko's descent to madness, where seeing it like those couple chapters where you're getting the sense of what she's actually planning. Now that she's like, I forgot what devil. No, she has the Justice Devil. I thought.
yeah, she does. The Justice Devil infected the other person.
Oh, the Justice Devil was both in the start and was Yuko. This is you miss these things when you're reading this fast-paced manga weekly. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
But like, so as like fun as it was to go down that ride, like her turn to like sociopathy, and she's like, "Oh, actually, I've always been fucked up and never understood people." It's like, it's so fast that it reminds me like the one thing that keeps like Chainsaw Man from breaching into like my absolute favorites is just how like fast events happen and Fujimoto doesn't let them linger and dare I say doesn't like fully flesh out certain turns of the story and you just kind of have to like go with it where like I felt like Yuko's turn was very sudden and extreme even if it led to like fun stuff. That's like always the caveat to Chainsaw Man. It's like some of the stuff may not be as fleshed out as
I don't know.
as I would like it, but it still leads to fun stuff.
For me, it just seemed like Yuko really kind of connected with Asa because she kind of felt in the same situation of like, oh, you're an outsider and you are being bullied by everybody. I connect to you, and she just kind of hid this deep resentment within her, and it's very much like I got like big American school shooter Columbine feelings from this
Yeah.
of like the quiet kid who kind of keeps to themselves and they're bottling everything up, and once they know it's time, they're gonna do what they want to do to like get their revenge.
Yeah,
Sort
no,
of.
it definitely makes sense on paper. It was just like as I was reading it, it felt really sudden to me. But I guess I could see, like, if you were always suspicious of that Columbine quiet kid vibe, then
Yeah.
it wouldn't feel that out of place.
Also, the Bat Devil comes back, which I think is really cool.
So I guess like devils just reincarnate. Is that how the lore goes over time?
Yeah, yeah. Like the only way for them to truly die is they get eaten by Chainsaw Man.
Right,
like,
the
when you
scariest
kill a devil-
possible devil. Yes.
Yes, of course. But if you kill a devil, it just goes back to hell and then it comes back. I think that's like stated in part one.
Right.
So
It's just
they were all yeah. But but depending on how you kill it, I think it can go away for a certain amount of time, or it could be longer. Or if it's a stronger devil, it takes a longer time for it to come back potentially. So the Bat Devil kind of being in the middle devil of like people are really scared of bats, but they're bats. he comes back relatively quickly, but it's still strong. So I kind of like that he's reusing them because I think even in the current arc, he's another devil has come back as well. I forget which one.
Um, Either way, like the thing with Yuzu, it's like yeah, but like the like just how dark the turn is because she's like fairly heroic in these scenes, so it's just like a very night and day between chapters basically turn. Um, Genji does come back here near the start where he shows up to save them from like their first super botched attempt at devil hunting.
Yeah.
What do you take of this scene where Denji just lets 6 people die to save one cat? I'm like, ha ha, funny, but like, what are you trying to say, Fujimoto? Like, what does this say about Denji? And like, what are you trying to get me to feel about Denji with that scene?
I think Genji just helps the completely innocent, I guess, because it's just a cat. But I don't really know. This was a very confusing moment for me as well. I was just like, okay, he saves the cat. I get it. It's funny, but it's also just kind of
It's like overly nihilistic to me, where it's like, oh, I don't care that multiple people just died. I saved the kitty, and then like that probably works for a lot of people, but it's the kind of writing that puts me off a lot of the times. But like Fujimoto's good at getting me back in, despite like weird scenes like this. From like this doesn't make me feel particularly engaged in the story right now. But that being said, let's talk about Denji's return. I think Denji in part 2 has been really fun so far.
yes. I think part of it too is that we don't need to like spend so much time with him, so we don't need to like. He kind of is able to be like this fun side character, very Mad Max style. So we don't need to go like very heavy into his like thought process all the time because we kind of already experienced that, right? So
yeah, like we don't get his thought bubbles anymore, like his external internal monologues, but we know what he's thinking.
Yes,
a lot of the time, and it's really fun.
Yes, I think that's really good because it lets us experience him from an outsider's perspective, and so it brings a new, fresh life into the manga because we're like, oh, we get to now see what everyone else sees. That everyone sees Denji doing Chainsaw Man.
And I like how there's varying opinions about how people view him, and like just the world has varying opinions on how much they care about all this devil stuff, which is again, like I said, interesting world building. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
But like Denji's motivation of trying to get caught, I think is so fucking funny, and it's led to so much good humor.
Yes.
And I feel like it's a cool follow up to the character where like he had his journey, he made his friends, he has no more friends now. But he's still Chainsaw Man. He's like the lonely hero, but he's like, fuck it, I could use this to get babes if only they knew. So it's like he had his development, but now he doesn't have those people around him, so he's kind of reverting to his scummier ways. And I think I think those kinds of regressions are good because I think it has like really good potential for where are we gonna go with this next.
I love this scene. I forget what this guy's name is, but the other agent, and he's like, and the agent brings him the cake, and he's like, the agent's trying to hold back the silverware, but Denji's like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna just use my hands. I think that's a perfect summary of like Denji's entire modus operandi of just like how he functions in society. Like
it's like as he's talking about his main motivation, he's eating the cake, like. And then you're like, why is this our hero? And the guy is so puzzled by it.
Yeah.
What is that guy's name? Because he's becoming even more and more important. Yoshida is his name. I haven't written it down. But yeah, it's great. And like most recently, he's bumming homeless people, which is again like just overly mean and low. Like even early series Denji wouldn't like actively fuck over other people like that. So it makes me. Do you think that there's something more to it, where like he's gathering all this money for something in particular? I feel like we're building up to like a moment where Denji is gonna be scummier and scummier, and then we're gonna get a reveal of why he might be getting all this money, and Asa will finally get like one shred of appreciation for him, maybe.
Well, don't forget he has he's taking care of the Control Devil reincarnation from the Chainsaw Man. Like that girl is in his care, so he is presumably taking care of her and is with him at this
Wait,
moment.
there was a reincarnation of the Control Devil? I don't
Did
remember
you-
that shit at all.
That's literally in the last chapter. Like he's talking to what's his face with the scar, and he's like, "This is the Control Devil again." But to the kid,
Oh my
take care
god,
of the
I
kid.
forgot. The last thing I remember is him eating Makima's ass.
Did you not read the chapter after that where like he talks about?
Dude, did I miss a chapter? I could have sworn the last scenes is Denji eating Makima.
No, the last scene is him with the girl with all of Makima's dogs taking care of her.
Shit. All right. Live read through. Let's go. No, I'm kidding. I probably read that and I forgot. There's no way because Shonen Jump I think showed it as read, so I guess I just completely. No wait, it doesn't. It shows 96 as read, but not 97.
Holy shit!
What have I done?
What? You.
Anyways,
Hilarious.
we're finding out now. I know what I'm about to do after we're done with the podcast, but we're gonna keep this train moving while we can, man.
Yeah.
What else is worth mentioning with this arc? Yeah, so Yuzu does make that contract in chapter 105. And I love how she even hits God, I need to stop. I wrote down Yuzu, but it's Yuko. She hits Asa with the "Hey, you're pretty cool. Don't come to school tomorrow," which is yeah, that school shooter vibe was definitely intentional. Might have gone over my head, but you definitely caught on to what Fujimoto was putting down.
It was like there's this. I think his paneling in this section from where Denji is talking to Yoshida to like now when Asa talks to Yuko, like I think it's just phenomenal storytelling with as little words as possible. Like you get like two spreads of.
Do you mean like the page 10 and 105 where it is just a bunch of panels of them talking and it's right? But yeah, and that's how they're like it ends with the review of like she killed her neighbor. So good.
Yeah,
this is what Fujimoto is right now. He's one of the best like he definitely views these as movie shots in some ways, but he translates it into fun manga paneling.
And then what even makes it better is you turn the page and then you realize there's like because they're very close together in the paneling, but when you turn the page they're pretty far apart in the spread. Like you realize the distance between them has just grown astronomically in like terms of like how they view each other, right? Or at least Asa in this case.
It's really good, and Asa looks like so puzzled here, and then when she finds out it's the truth. But like that's the thing. Like it's just so immediately fucked up, and then the next like the only justification you get in dialogue is basically just like, oh, I don't understand people in the next chapter. So yeah, that would be like that's why this is both my favorite and least favorite part. And then we get we get some cool stuff with the War Demon. You said that it can turn anything into a weapon, so we get a pencil, but we also get the school outfit like you mentioned, which I felt was like, is that like out of place fan service for Chainsaw Man? Am I overselling that aspect when the whole initial motivation is to touch boobs and kiss a girl?
To me, it just was more like because the War Devil states that a powerful weapon is only something you can only make really powerful weapons when you have something that's if you have an attachment to it.
Yeah, and her mom, I think, made the school outfit.
Yeah, so it's like this is all she has left, literally, of that. Like, kind of gives her some sort of like feeling of attachment, like love and caring that she cares for. It's the only thing she has that she cares for is the clothes on her back. I think that's some good symbolism there.
That's true. It just leads to like a pretty fan servicey, and I feel like there isn't that much of that in the main story. I feel like the horniness is very much from the dialogue and the looks, but there's no like, hey, skimpy beach outfit. I'm probably misremembering.
I wouldn't even call this fan servicey because I don't think Asa looks sexy or it doesn't look like being sexualized at all. Like she looks like an awkward looking teenage girl.
True. In the first couple of shots where like it's action poses, but then as she's actually fighting, she just looks kind of goofy.
Right. But like compare that to like Power, that definitely is in like that she does some like she poses a little bit, and same with Makima. Like you have that whole scene with Makima where like she like caresses Denji's hand before he touches her boob and stuff like that. Like
So lewd, indeed.
yes, and so I think it's not fan service. I think he's more going for that this girl has nothing but the clothes on her back in terms of like what she cares for, and now she's having to fight her own friend with them.
You know, economic writing would state that it's both.
Yeah.
He's nailing both at the same time. This also leads to like Denji's big return, and it's cool because, and this is like my favorite thing about part 2 so far, is this just like slow burn Hitchcockian bomb under the table where Denji wants people to know so bad that he's Chainsaw Man, but Asa can't know he's Chainsaw Man because the War Devil fucking hates Chainsaw Man, and also Asa hates Chainsaw Man. It's like the one thing that they like could agree on initially is that they both do not care for this guy.
Yes.
And they also both don't care for Denji as a person, so I'm so excited for all of that coming to light.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we have to be getting close to it, right?
Yeah. Fujimoto doesn't swerve. He goes straight through every wall, barricade, garden to get to his like destination, basically, with his storytelling. So yeah, it's just so we had this huge fight, and then Chainsaw Man comes in and rips her up, right?
Yeah, but she lived that. She survived that, which I was interested. Which leads us to a very classic time for Chainsaw Man the series to tear my heart out kind of scene.
Yeah,
where with Yuko realizing she needs to run away. Asa gives her shoes. Very, very cool callback to earlier.
Yes.
In the arc. And then this was super confusing on a first read because I think what happens is the Famine Devil shows up and kills her. No.
Yeah.
No, Chainsaw Man shows up and kills her.
Yes. Potentially.
That's the thing, right? Because for some reason, around this part is when the Famine Devil shows up, and it's like, that's my sister, and it's completely unexplained. I understand it now more that it's like been more properly introduced.
Yeah. There's a theory going around that because at the end of Chainsaw Man, Denji's able to detach Chainsaw Man from himself in order to like best Makima, that it's potentially that Chainsaw Man is kind of like possessing Denji's body potentially and doing more killings without him knowing or leaving and doing.
See, I have not kept up with the discussion on part 2, so I don't know some of these theories. So that's cool.
But
it's interesting. Like Denji is like a weird character to give the possession storyline.
Yeah.
Because like his reactions to it would be like it'd be no cells. It'd be like, oh well shit. Like I don't know, he's already so goofy that this is like a weird thing to throw on top of it. So I wonder what else it could be aside from that. Maybe I don't know, like I feel like a lingering motivation, as I recall, is like Denji's trying to save Power somehow. Like Power comes back briefly in the final fight, right?
So yeah, that's the other thing too, is that he wants to track down Power because Power basically gave her life to him, and was just like, hey, come find me. I won't 100% be me, but you can come find me and we can be friends again. Like it's kind of like you need to go find the next person I possess or the next demon or whatever.
Oh man, that's gonna be such weird, interesting storytelling. Oh
yes,
I'm very excited for the future of part 2.
Yeah.
That's basically the end of that arc, I guess. Which leads us to, I guess, now that I have more context, this would be the beginning of the current arc, really.
Yes.
This student, council guy is such an asshole. I hate his stupid Chainsaw Man lever. Wait, I mean, but hold on. We don't know for sure that he's not the evil Chainsaw Man that killed Yuko.
No. We do. He says it in the current chapter.
Oh, right. He's waiting.
He got an implant put into him.
Right. Okay. You're right. And this is when we get to Yuko staking out Denji, where it's interesting, where it's like you need to find someone that you have a little bit of a relationship with to make a strong weapon. And then
Yes.
it's like she's like, well, I don't. You can't do someone that you dislike or have nothing going. Like you can't do someone who's straight up evil. You can't do someone you really like because then you would actually just feel really guilty. So why
Right.
don't you befriend this fucking loser and make him a weapon? So
Yeah.
Asa is her motivations are very sketchy right now. Which
It's I got some hard middle place vibes from this whole conversation.
yes, right, a good place, middle place scenario.
Yeah.
It's also interesting here that Asa is she'd rather kill a human than a cat. So like
Yes.
there's something going on here with this. What is he trying to say about these cat lovers that will kill humans? Like, I don't know.
I think it's
I think
it's like
it might be like maybe he's not saying something about the characters individually, but it's a weird philosophy they both share.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's also like if you look at human, like if you were to like put two people in there, if you were put a human in a room and you're like, all right, you had to kill a dog or you had to go kill a human, you have to kill one. Which do you kill? I'm pretty sure like 9 out of 10 people would choose a human over a dog, right? Like there's something
really.
innately.
Oh no, am I
Yeah.
the sociopath?
But I think there's just something there about like because I think you can justify killing a human because you can make up whatever story you want about how they probably did something bad or
Yeah.
like they've done evils, whereas a dog doesn't know what's going on. They have no conception of like the greater good or whatever. A dog is a dog and a cat's a cat. They're just kind of doing their own lives, right? So
And
I think that
ultimately, and I mean, if anyone's listening and you have a take on this, I would love to see comments below.
Yeah.
But like, ultimately, what does that like do for the characters of Asa and Denji? Where it's like, I guess like they have a naive sense of justice, but I don't really think that applies to Asa because Asa's like as stupid as she fucking is, she's way smarter than Denji. You know, like
yeah.
she's a lot more grounded in this world. She's just a weird loner femcel, so like, but she's still like pretty normal, all things considered, compared to Denji,
Yeah.
who was like this freak, like grew up in the weirdest scenario and sold his balls, weirdo.
Do you remember? Did you start this entire series without an eye? Like he had only one eye at the beginning in the first chapter of the series.
Yeah, a very very quick character design change there.
Yeah.
At the end of the pilot.
Uh, I, he's definitely building to something with this whole cat situation. Like,
Yeah, let's keep our eye out for like any other instances with these cats. And I mean, also like if we want to dig deep, dogs were such a prominent iconography in part 1 and now
Yes.
they seem to be more prominent in part 2. So, is this
Yeah.
them going past their dog phase where Denji was a dog but now he's more of a cat man? I don't know. I'm just trying to dig something
Yeah.
up. Well,
Fujimoto, I'm trying to pick your brain. You're not making this easy.
That's what's
But you know
nice.
what?
As like, for all its shortcomings, I feel like there are some times with the writing of Chainsaw Man. I know Fujimoto is like thinking about it deeply. Like
Yes.
he for all the nonsense and the gore and the violence, he's trying to tell a direct story. And part 2 is really promising. I wanted to bring up that like Asa is already one of the most fleshed out characters in the series, and
Yeah.
like with the other characters, it's like they get fleshed out very slowly through like indirect characterization, through backgrounds things or like very non-verbal kind of things. He's doing something more straightforward with Asa, but as a result, I think he's developing her in a way faster time where the story's all about her. She's having internal monologues with the War Devil. So I don't know. I'm really like Asa's becoming one of my favorite characters already because of just how fast she's being developed.
And I think what also makes her interesting is that she's much more of like a human in this world. Like she's not like Denji where he was like living in poverty and had nothing to go base off his life. He's not Power, who is just literally a fiend, a devil that doesn't really understand. Aki, who is in constant depression all the time, or Bakura, who
Yeah.
is just actually the worst. Like she's like an actual normal person, and having her like just deal with a normal life, and then having to deal with this and her own petty like Like she doesn't really have a reason to hate Chainsaw Man, if I remember correctly. She's just kind of
She's just like, why does everyone like this guy? She's just
yeah,
like she dislikes Chainsaw Man in the same way where I dislike, like where I don't care for an anime that people talk about a lot and I haven't watched yet. It's like, okay,
correct.
I just hate seeing this everywhere.
Yeah,
But
like
maybe, and you know, like that's what's so fun about Asa, and maybe why I'm growing to like her so much. Denji's a fucking like no one in the world exists like Denji, and then all the
yeah,
other characters are soulless like corporate workers and secret agents. Where it's and Makima is just a whole can of worms, and Power
yeah.
is a gremlin. So like she's the only normal person we've met, and she's also like by no means like fully normal, but she's the closest thing to it among any of our main characters.
hmm She, yeah. So I think it's a really good choice to like Fujimoto to step back and be like, well, what if we introduce a person that like really doesn't have a strong motivation to be involved, but is kind of propelled into it and has to deal with it now. Of like, you have this base innate dislike for this person, and because of that, you are being dragged into the situation.
Yeah, it's
Like,
yeah. Like you could argue the War Devil is like the only reason why she wouldn't be as weird as she seems if it wasn't
yeah,
for the War Devil making her life kind of a mess.
yeah. I think if she was given the opportunity to be like, hey, the war devil will possess you, you can kill Chainsaw Man, would you do it? I think she would say no. Like to me,
Yeah, yeah. Like it's not like a huge grudge. Not
yeah,
maybe if she finds out Chainsaw Man killed Yuko, that would change. You know, and I feel like that partially might be where we're going.
yeah,
Which leads us to the most recent chapters, the action art part of this arc, which is the very funny date. I will say,
yes,
like, Denji is becoming a better and better character over time, and I just really like him as this side character. He's like
yes,
maybe he's the kind of character who like sometimes may come off too goofy or obnoxious as the main, but as the side character who's like dealing with someone much like stranger in certain ways or someone that grates on him and like is kind of humbling him, it's making him so likable, and I feel so bad for him on this date.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's so fucking funny
Oh,
though. That
it's
paneling of her just spouting off the fucking
sea
fish
anemone
fact.
like Snapple facts like a Rocky.
And like Fujimoto makes these fucking giant ass speech bubbles with the text just packed in there, and it's like no one's gonna fucking read this. You get the point. Like you look at that panel, and you get the point across like what is happening.
It's great because you doze off like Denji does. It's
Yeah,
fantastic. I also like how he just seems annoyed. He's been through this before. He even relates this experience to the other time he was in an infinite hallway through another devil.
yeah,
He said like because he equated this to the Infinity Devil, and I don't know. I don't think this is the Infinity Devil, but it's nice that he has the experience to stay calm in this situation. He just seems so much more grown up, and like even though he's the Gremlin Denji, you feel like you feel like the events of part one broke him a little bit. That made him a little more humble and normal, despite
yes,
him being a show off and being like cocky and stuff. It's just I don't know. I really like how Denji's developing.
yeah. He's more human than he was in the middle of part one. I would
For
say,
sure.
right?
And
Like,
like yeah, you really feel like there's just something missing where like he doesn't seem like he's having as much fun as before, even though like
yeah,
his life is simpler now. He it should on paper he has way more freedom. Hunting devils is like his own decision now more or less, and he feels nice feeling like a hero even though like people don't know it's him.
yeah,
And I feel like he's just a really lonely person again. And maybe like the eye patch wolf video helped put into perspective how Makima gave something he was missing, which was a place in the world and people around him. And now
yeah.
he has a place in the world, but not the same people around him. So I
There's
wonder.
always missing in like for him. Like there's always something missing that he just can't figure it out.
Yeah, and I mean it's not his fault. The world kind of throws him a shitty hand at every possible turn.
Yes.
But hey, he just plows through it.
Yeah.
He does what he can. I like this male Kobeni, by the way. That's in the in the group. There's like this one kid, or maybe it might not be a male, but it looks just like Kobeni, and they're freaking out. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe this is supposed to invoke the exact same setup and feel as the Infinity Devil arc.
Yeah, I think so. Because Denji mentions that it feels just like it, but it's different. I think that's an interesting take too. Is like if this is the Infinity Devil, he's doing things completely differently. That speaks a lot about the devils coming back, like the Control Devil and the Blood Devil coming back and being completely different people. That like it may be like they might still be those devils, but they might be completely different people entirely. Like so. We'll see how this
might
goes.
make by being different people, it might also make the manifestation of like the devil's powers a little different as well. So it'd be cool actually to see like a bomb devil, but it functions a little different because it's on a different person. Stuff like that. There might be a lot of that actually in this part.
Mm-hmm. Also, well, we have 115 chapters. I don't know if you knew this, but another chapter came out this week.
Did I read that one? No, I did not. So we're gonna stop talking right now.
Okay.
Right, I forgot. I thought it was on break this week because it was like.
I did too.
Then I got. Because hold on, last week I read it said 20 days until the next chapters. Was like, oh, he's going on like a big break, like on a 3-week break. I got. Maybe I just read it wrong.
I literally like got a notification that said there was a new Chainsaw Man. I was like, really? That's cool. All right, whatever.
Well, ended there. What are your expectations? I mean, you have a little more knowledge than me, but like, what are you looking forward to? Any like lasting positives or negatives you wanted to bring up about these two arcs we discussed? Any closing thoughts? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm thinking.
Okay.
I think like I've really enjoyed Asa. I hope we see more of her, and I kind of like. I'm really hoping that we kind of linger on her a little bit longer. I have a feeling that like Asa is going to at one point have to break away for one reason or another, and we're going to shift over to the next like Horseman Devil, basically. Like Famine showed up. You said.
That'd be interesting.
And so I'm interested to see if like maybe after this like we get a weird break where like Asa figures out the Chainsaw Devil, and then we shift perspectives to the Famine Devil of like now we see what she's been doing, and it's kind of like a parallel story that happened at the same time.
Wow! Oh man, that would be such a cool structure. And it like Denji's the connecting force, like connecting tissue with these four devils.
I don't know if you knew this, but like the Control Devil is supposed to be the representative of the Conquest Horseman.
Oh, it probably was mentioned in part 1, but yeah, I forgot. So we know 3 of them.
Yes.
Who's the last one?
Death is the last devil.
Okay.
So, and they even mentioned. Well, I don't want to spoil the chapter, but they mentioned talking about eating death. Chainsaw Man doing that.
He's already done it. So they're
No. They're talking about like maybe he can eat the Death Devil.
I would imagine, like, okay, logically, the Death Devil should be the strongest devil. I think. Right. I think ultimate, like, above. Sorry, death is scarier than chainsaws. I'll say it. I know, controversial take, but
yeah.
The thing that humans fear universally, at least to a small degree, not everyone fears it differently, but everyone has some fear for it, is death. So it's like that's got to be the strongest bitch out there.
Yeah, for sure. So like, I think we're gonna. It's definitely like he's wanting to like build these 4 different horsemen up, but like. Famine and death are a bit weird because war and conquest are both man-made things. Those are made by man. Famine and famine and death are godlike entities. Like we have no control over that. Like we can't. Like famine is going to keep happening, and like all of that's going to keep happening out of our control. The diseases and death is just a natural part of life. So if we're going,
I guess famine is beyond like hunger. It would also be pests and.
Yes, that's what usually like. It's everything involved with like deterioration and like. So
to be fair, you could argue conquest is a natural thing that animals also have, so maybe
I get,
that. But
but like,
war is pretty organized. I feel like it's war is more than just fighting. It's war. It's big
yeah,
scale. So I don't know.
yeah. So I'm interested to see like what Fujimoto's like plan is there, because it's I can understand like understanding control and taking and like rehabilitating control, and then the war as well, of like these are human things that like human society can improve upon in some way. Uh, but like those other two things are just are stuff is stuff that happens to humans. It like no, I guess you
You
can kill.
you can mitigate famine with
You're not death
technology
itself. Does
and
that make
working.
sense? It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
but like you, but no person's going like I'm going to cause a famine. I guess if you're HEB, you decide to close your doors and just starve people out.
Oh,
But like,
if you're the governor of Texas and there's a snowstorm,
yeah, but like I don't know. Those are
or
other like those are a little bit
I
higher.
don't. I feel like Wesker would do it.
Yeah.
Some Resident Evil villain would do it.
You're
It's
right.
interesting.
We'll turn the zombies by making you go crazy.
I never pictured us cutting back to famine because she seems like such a mysterious character that I thought she would just be an antagonist. Is that like a prevailing thought that we might get like
No, that's just me thinking like out loud. Like
what,
it's just
what I'm picturing for the future is a what is the term derotagist, like the double protagonist kind of story with both Denji and Asa, and
well, yeah.
the
That's-
other
yeah.
two will be allies or enemies as needed. Until Makima's resurrection, and she's like, Denji, come touch my boob, and then we'll
Yes.
go from there.
Eat my cake again.
No, happy birthday, Denji.
Yeah, happy birthday. I think we're going like I think he wants to build out on those four horsemen devils for sure. Like there's a distinct reason why he chose war as like the next kind of like big devil in this arc, I would assume.
I
But-
mean, shit, man, I'm really into that idea. And you know what? Like, that's an idea that is so full that it could span, like, that's all of part two, is, like, just
Yeah.
that ongoing storyline.
Yes.
And that would be
So-
about, like, that feels like if it's taken us a little under 20 chapters and we're still on Asa, it would make sense that, like, a 90-ish, 100-ish chapter part would account for these four characters who would get just about as much storytelling as Asa did.
Yeah.
Hey, let hoping for it. That'd be dope.
Yep.
And I'm
All right.
hoping that Denji continues to, be expounded upon and see his highs and his lows and just be himself. But
Yeah. We might
that's. Or what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like probably like going forward, part two will be more of like how Dingy impacts people through who he is now, rather than how people impact Dingy. Right? That's the obvious thing.
Denji's so motivational. Just look at him. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But I could definitely see that he needs someone in his life too. So like,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
like
yeah,
him to make friends with Asa, even if that seems like a far off dream right now.
Yes.
We'll see how that goes. That's all I got, Joe.
Yeah, I think that's all I got too.
And we'll return to Chainsaw Man in roughly the same amount of chapters.
Oh, like March, April,
Yeah.
July.
That'll probably pan out. It'll be like 16-ish, 20-ish chapters. That's perfect. Let's
Yeah,
try to
Fujimoto's
do Dan to Dan in January as well. And
Oh yeah,
catch
we
up on
should
that.
totally do that.
Yes.
I don't know if you've read Dan to Dan recently, but
I'm
shit's been
I'm
fun.
behind. Okay, if shit's popping off, maybe
Oh
early.
my god, it's crazy. Like I am like it's out of control.
Ooh,
Uh.
early January then. First 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's like, but the thing is, we keep waiting, and at a certain point, we're like, we have at least
think you're-
1 to 2 arcs to talk about.
Yeah. I think right now, if you were to read everything, like next week, we'd definitely discuss it because we're at a good kind of like midpoint stopping point. There's a small bit of brevity of what's going on.
All right, let's aim for it next week
Yeah.
or first
Okay.
week of January. Awesome. Well, Joe, thanks for joining me. That was super fun. Chainsaw Man,
Yeah.
very good. It's definitely one of the best manga ongoing right now.
I am shocked at how well Fujimoto was able to pick it up and keep it going and keep me excited.
Exactly. In fact, like, by being so different, I wasn't so sure about part two, and I guess I should have led with that. By being so different and refreshing, I'm like super on board again.
Same.
Yeah, and yeah. If any listeners, we'll return to this topic. So be patient. We don't like to talk about it too often, but we'll be back.
Yep.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye.